Hi, Happy New Year. Welcome back to my channel. Since winters have set in, I thought it would be a nice idea to make a winter landscape. And guess what? I have created one for you. It's a snowscape, and let me take you through the process of how I created this painting. So the first thing that I do is I do a little bit of preparation in the form of thumbnail sketch for tonal study. Tonal study is basically the identification of the dark and the lightest areas in a painting, in a scene that you're going to paint. It's done with the help of a value scale which is based on 7 areas, wherein you have the darkest area, then you have the mid-tones, and then you have the lightest area. Tonal study is very crucial for making a good painting because it helps us in assigning the depth and contrast to the painting. And then I identify the areas in the picture on the basis of color temperature, the warm and the cool areas. For example, in this picture you have the hutments, which are warm browns, and the trees and the mountains are cool greens and blues. And then I work on the shapes of the elements in the picture. I simplify them. I don't bother about using the exact shapes that are there in the picture. And here we come to the stage where I draw the sketch on the paper, watercolor paper, which I am going to use for the painting. And this watercolor paper is a 300 GSM cold pressed sheet. The brand is Arches. It's one of my favorite brands for the reason that it holds the pigments very well. The next stage is coloring, and I use Daniel Smith colors. And for the sky, we go with a mixture of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. For the snow, we go with the phthalo blue, and we lift the little bit of pigment back from the paper. Then we start with the first mountain, that's the farthest. It's a mixture of alizarin crimson and phthalo blue, and we'll just cover the large areas quickly. And the brush that I'm using here is Raphael number 8. It's a mop, and it has become my favorite brush to use because it holds a lot of water and it starts making nice shapes. And after the first mountain, we go to the hutments. Hutments, as you can see, is since it's a warm color, so I'm using deep scarlet and phthalo blue for this. And as I was talking about the brush quality, it can make very nice pointed thin lines as well, and it can cover large areas as well. So that's the reason that this brush is one of my favorites. It also has a certain weight to it, because the handle is quite thick in the middle, so which helps in holding the brush in a certain way, and the control that you have on the paper is pretty much defined by that weight of the handle. And as you can see, I haven't changed the brush yet. I'm using it for the large areas and for the finer details. And after that, we go to the second mountain, and it's a mixture of deep scarlet and ultramarine blue. And as you can see, I've still used the same brush. After that, we go to the trees. Now for the trees, I'm using a mixture of Zoisite Genuine, Neutral Tint, French Ultramarine Blue, and Deep Scarlet. Something interesting about these colors is that Zoisite Genuine is a pigment, actually a mineral sourced from Austria, and it has a very granulated look, and gives a very nice greenish grayish color. And neutral tint, as you know, many of you must know that neutral tint, it adds darkness to any hue. So for darkening a color or a hue, using a neutral tint is a good idea. And it's called neutral because it's neither warm nor cool, so it adds to the hue, whether that hue or the color is warm or cool, so it just makes it dark. And then ultramarine blue. Ultramarine traditionally was sourced from lapis lazuli. It used to be a very expensive color, but now it's synthetically made, and it's called French ultramarine now. And then you have deep scarlet. It's also one of the very nice reds that I use often. And as you can see about the brush, I'm the shapes that I was talking about earlier on, about using simplified shapes, making quick, broad strokes to cover large areas, and using simpler shapes. I'm not actually following the picture in toto. And here you can see I'm lifting a little bit of pigment from the trees, from those areas near the trees, to indicate the trunk and the branches, etc. A little bit of that. Now we come to the stage where we do the shadows on the snow. And as you can see, the color is a mixture of burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and deep scarlet. And shadows are an important part of painting, which bring in life to the painting. Shadows can be cool, shadows can be warm, and they certainly add a great amount of depth to the painting. Many people, when they start working in the watercolors, believe that shadows are grays or they are black, but that's not the case. Shadows always have a certain hue associated with them. And as you can see, it's bluish here on the snow, and I'm adding a little bit of detail here and there for the shadowy areas. And this, as you can see, adds depth to the painting, and brings life to the entire scene. I think we need to add a little bit of shadow to the areas on the left to accentuate the rooftops of the hutments, and that's what I'm going to do in a while, as you will see. So this is, in a way, sort of working around the edges, as we call it, and using rough brush strokes here and there to show the unevenness of the ground below the snow. And then we next go to the foliage, that's the trees behind, and we need to darken certain areas to bring out the depth and the distance between the different trees. Some of them are closer to you, some of them are further in the scene. So you do that by making certain areas darker and keeping the other areas as they are. And for that I'm using a mixture of ultramarine blue and neutral tint, and mixing even a bit of reds and browns here and there with this mixture um, so as to give a variegated feel to the forest. Mm, this is an important step, as this adds different layers to the depth of the painting. Um, After this, we'll move into the final stage of the painting, which is defining the finer details in the hutments. Now, wherein the details are done in in a mixture of deep scarlet, cadmium red purple, phthalo blue, and neutral tint. And this is how we make a color which is like black, but it's actually not black, because we don't use blacks in watercolors. Watercolors are a transparent medium, and with the help of different hues, you can come up with a mixture like this, which looks like black, but it's not black, but it's dark enough to give us a feeling of it being the darkest tone. So as you can see, these finer details help in lending the final touches to the painting, and they bring the whole exercise to life. And they are one of my favorite things to do once you are done with the painting. And it certainly is a satisfying feeling to see your exercise of doing a painting come to life. And this satisfaction is something that can be achieved, for me, personally speaking, in watercolors only. And the important part about painting is you have to know when to stop, and that comes with experience. And this is where I draw the curtain with my signature over the painting. And hopefully you guys like this piece of work of mine, and I'll be coming up with more videos on different aspects of painting and drawing. And if you like it, please subscribe to my channel, and I would appreciate if you click on the bell icon, so that you can get notifications on my subsequent videos on time.